Good morning, everyone. If I told you a man has eaten 25,000 Big Macs in a period of time of 39 years, you may think, wow, that is extreme. However, even though we probably don't count how many Big Macs or how many hamburgers we've eaten in our whole life, we know that people love fast food. In fact, for example, in the US, there are almost 250,000 fast food restaurants. Furthermore, the industry creates a revenue of $570 billion a year. That amount is more than the economy of Sweden in 2018, which was of $551 billion, and this amount, the revenue, is also 4 times bigger than what NASA spent going to the moon, which was an amount of $147 billion. Another fact is that according to studies, the 96% of children recognize the figure of Ronald McDonald if they see a picture of him. And the only character more recognizable than Ronald McDonald is Santa Claus. The story of fast food is one of the most remarkable stories in the past 80 years. But that must make us think, because if we are what we eat, then what does the popularity of fast food say about our society? By definition, fast food is that one that is presented to customers in a quickly way, either because it is preheated or because it is it uses pre-cooked ingredients. However, the concept of fast food first appeared between the 1920s and the 1940s during the urban automats. An automat were cafeterias where customers dropped a coin in a slot and in return they would obtain food quickly. We can say that it was like a cafeteria, a current and nowadays cafeteria with a vending machine. However, the first fast food restaurant really appeared in 1921 in Arkansas, and it was called White Castle. And this restaurant was the pioneer of a faster and cleaner system for cooking burgers. However, fast food habits didn't take off yet at that time, because during the Great Depression and the World War II, people would stay home for eating. They wouldn't go out. However, when the war ended, the way of eating started to change, and people would have more income, and therefore they would go out to dine. They would dine out as a way of entertainment. And what they were looking for in the restaurants were food that was tasty and food that was served quickly. In 1948, the brothers Dick and Mac McDonald's first appeared and created this system of burgers that were served up quick, and they would only cost 50 cents, which was like $1.60 nowadays. The restaurant was a hit, and during the next decade, new fast food chains started blowing across the country. This way, in 1948, In-N-Out Burger opened in LA, California, and it was the first drive-through ever existing. In 1952, Kentucky Fried Chicken opened its first restaurant in Salt Lake, Utah. In 1954, Burger King opened its first restaurant in Miami, Florida, and only 3 years later, the Whopper appeared for the first time. In 1958, Pizza Hut opened its first restaurant in Wichita, Kansas. Then, after the boom and restaurants started to appear, the owners of the restaurants started to franchise by standardizing machinery and ingredients. In fact, KFC was one of the first restaurants to ever franchise. And why were fast food restaurants so successful? Well, it was because of two things. The first one is that in the 1950s, car culture gained popularity. That driving movies and driving restaurants became all the rage. And they took convenience to another level because people who would go to a movie or to a restaurant needed to get out of the car to get the food or to watch the movie. Besides, the other reason why fast food was so successful at the time, it was because the appearance of the microwave, which it was in 1965. The microwave represented a new way to heat food really quickly, and fast food took advantage of this. And by using them, they could serve food more quickly than they did before, and they also could reduce costs. So here, because of the car culture and the appearance of the microwave, fast food started really to take off. And by 1978, around 60,000 fast food outlets were scattered around the US. This huge increase of these outlets and this way of producing food changed, obviously, and had an impact on the way food was produced, because this way chains centralized their processing centers, so every patty and every nugget that went to franchises was the same. And this created a consistency that was the biggest appeal of fast food restaurants, because people, no matter what restaurant they went, they knew what they were going to get. So that was the most appealing thing of fast food restaurants. And once fast food chains were settled in the US, the owners started to look past American borders and looked for a way to expand their markets. And soon, fast food restaurants appeared in Australia, in Japan, and in the UK. And in fact, this was America's latest cultural export to the world. By the 90s, fast food had gone global. And nowadays, it is part of our society and every country in the planet. In fact, for example, McDonald's has 38,000 restaurants all over the world. But the restaurant that has the most stores opened or had in 2019 was Subway with 41,000 stores. However, 24,000 of them were only in the US. And if we go to Croatia, for example, we can only find one Subway. Another fun fact or interesting fact is that every year around 3.6 million Japanese households celebrate Christmas with KFC, which is for me kind of crazy. So if you want to know more crazy facts or more facts about fast food industry, I invite you to watch a documentary called History 101. It's the first episode of the documentary because it's a series documentary. It's about the fast food, and there they told everything about how fast food started and how it has expanded through the planet. And here my speech ends. Thank you for listening. Bye.